Hello. Hi. I love doing that in a lot. I'll say hello and I'll respond again to myself. Hi. How are we all doing this morning? It's a cold and dry morning here where I am, here in Nigeria, what we call the Hamatan. I mean, it has come upon us in a very interesting way. Welcome, everyone. So, this is 30 minutes of dyslexia. We Blessing Ingyape. 30 minutes of dyslexia that will change your life forever, like we like to say. So, I'm going to go straight to the point since we have just 30 minutes. I'm going to try as much as possible to keep to time. I love to keep to time. Hi, Facebook user. I don't know who that is, but it's showing Facebook user. And why I can't see your name is because you haven't given StreamYard the permission to show me your name. So I believe that attached to this live video, if you're watching on Facebook, there is that part where it says you should click a link that allows StreamYard to show me your name so that I can call your names, converse with you, and appreciate you for being here. So we're talking about um, a very interesting topic that is dear to me. And what 30 minutes with 30 minutes of dyslexia with Blessing Ingyape is all about is we're going to be coming up with dyslexia issues that we can talk about. Mainly, there are going to be issues that I've experienced in the future or I experienced during the week, and we will talk about it here. How I've been able to profess solution, and we'll share minds too, what you can also do. Now, the topic for what we're looking at today is if I'm smart, then why did I fail? That's actually a question that my student asked me. And for a while, that got me thinking because you're going to hear more of the story later. But when everything happened, and I was telling him that, you know what, you are smart. And with tears in his eyes, he was crying and he said, but if I'm smart, then why did I fail? And believe me, that's such a valid question that needs an answer. And that's also an important part in that boy's life, that whatever answer that is given at that time is going to build his future. So I had to pause a while and say, Blessing, this is a lifetime moment or a moment of a lifetime, like they say. Whatever you're going to say here is going to be the foundation which this ball is going to build other failures in his life. Because I think this is like one of the major failures he has experienced as a child. He's about 12, 13, thereabout. Yes. So, like I was saying, when you're working with children with learning issues, you need to have a mindset that this is a process, and in this process they are going to fall. It's just like our lives. I don't know what it is that you're good at. I don't know what it is that you do in your field. You can just pick an area. There are times that you felt, you know what, I've got this, but then right in the middle something happens. In our lives, even as individuals, we fall, but then we rise up again. So even when you're offering intervention for children with dyslexia specifically, I would like to say that this can also apply to other kids who are struggling with learning in your class. You need to understand that there are times that they will fall. So what am I saying? Do not expect a perfect child. Like the last time and Ms. Doshima were talking the last session or lab of the dyslexia conference. We're talking about the challenges you face. You need to understand that these kids with dyslexia are first of all kids, or let me say first of all human beings, and then they are kids. Sometimes people step into the class expecting a perfect child. So because they are dyslexic, they're perfect, they're sweet, they are, all of that. But there are other things that happen. You see behavioral issues. You see children like behavior because they are kids. You see other issues that arise, and you need to prepare your mind for this, or you have a nerve breakdown. One of the areas you need to prepare your mind for, aside the behavioral issues that might come up, especially because sometimes they are trying to put up a defense You need to understand that there are times that they will fall. I love to call it fall and not fail. They might experience failures as they walk through that journey, but you need to let them understand that it is a process. So usually when that happens, like my student met me and was crying when we had that class. I started teaching him um, during the COVID period, and we're actually focusing just on a particular area because we felt from what the family wanted and everything. They were like, okay, this is just the area we want you to focus on. So when the whole COVID thing resumed, and schools had to jump into writing exams immediately, and he wrote his exams and came into class a few days back, crying, wailing, not even crying, wailing. What? Why are you crying? What happened today? And he's like, I failed. I was asked to repeat a class. So my first expression, and you should write this down. Sometimes when failure happens, there can be a surprise. And that surprise can take different forms. Sometimes you're surprised because you feel, wait, but you know this. You should know this. Shouldn't you know this? How? How did you fail? For me, though, the shock, my own surprise was very funny. I was like, wait, do schools, because where I am here in Abuja, I don't think kids repeat classes because when a parent has paid over 300,000, 500,000, a million for a term, you now come and say the child has repeated. So for private schools, I don't think that even exists. If you're a private school teacher here, you can tell me the experience in your school where you teach. Do kids repeat? Don't repeat. So for me, first was even a shock because I thought it's public schools that repeat. I said, oh, really? That still happens. Wow, it's been a while. I thought it was only when I was in school that we're asked to repeat. That repeating we do repeating. No, not repeating. But then when those lists come, and somebody is here, Tete, we went to the same uh primary school, right? So when those names are out and it's pasted on the wall, you have people that have passed, you have people that have repeated, and they have people that have been promoted by trial. And we used to make a joke and say, see, even if he's promoted by wheelbarrow, anyhow, we're promoted to the next class. We don't care. We just want to be in that next class. So first I was surprised that okay, yeah, okay, wow, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Then secondly, I wondered because the intervention we're offering was just on a particular um, skill, a particular academic skill, which the parents were bothered about. And I was like, wait, it takes all the subjects to fail, right? Or to be asked to repeat a class, right? Not just one subject. So that means this is not just this particular problem you're having. It is an all-round thing because I know I didn't love math in school. Interestingly, do you know that I'm teaching math now? When I was looking at my life, I was like, really? I had to learn how to teach math. I had to learn math so I can teach it. Okay. I had to learn math so I can teach it. I didn't like math. But now, not passing math doesn't mean I'm going to fail all of my exams because I'm going to repeat a class because of the way they calculate all of the average thing and everything. So I think at the end is the average that you get that determines if you're being promoted to the other class or not. So if you're repeating a class, it means it is an all-round thing. So those were the own surprises for me. And for you, it might be another surprise. I don't know what it might be like for you. I'm saying it might be probably you feel it's something you have taught a child, you have gone through their notes, you did the revision together, although we didn't do any of that with him. We're only focused on the goal for that moment. So after being surprised, so it's okay to be surprised. Okay, it's okay to be surprised, but please to be surprised in your heart, not to express your surprise in front of the student. So I won't say, so they still repeat now. Wait, yeah. So you understand? I can't voice out my surprise or expressions in front of my student. This is what this thing I'm sharing with you now is what happened in my mind. So after being surprised, the next thing is to acknowledge. You need to acknowledge that there is a problem. So I had to acknowledge that, wait, there is a problem. What we're dealing with during the COVID period is not the only problem. It's not the only thing that is happening in school. And mind you, the sessions we offer at Dyslexia Help Africa are mainly online sessions. So this is an online thing. It's not even in Abuja currently. So I had to acknowledge that, okay, there is a problem here. It's not just what we thought it was. So what is the problem? This is an all-round problem. Because what does it take for a school to ask a child to repeat? It means all round they have looked and there is a problem. So they want you to go back to that class and go through that class again. So whether it's right to ask a child to repeat or not is not the topic of today's discussion. We are going to find a time one of these Saturdays on 30 minutes of dyslexia with Blessing, and we're going to discuss that issue. So you have to acknowledge what the problem is. What is the problem? For me, the problem I realized was that, okay, what we're focusing on as a problem is not the only problem. There is an all-round academic issue that we have to focus on. For you, it could be that probably the revision strategies you used with him didn't work. So that's a problem. You need to look at another strategy. It could be that, okay, he understood when you were doing the revision, but he got into the exam hall and is it that he forgot? So you have to figure out the problem. The problem could even be as far as trying to look into his exam script to see what happened. The problem could be that he couldn't comprehend what he was reading, so he didn't answer the questions correctly. So you can see that there could be different problems here. We here have discovered what we think the problem is. It is an all-round learning issue that we need to look into. And as we even go further, I believe that we'll find more other things that must have contributed to whatever it is that happened to him. So the first thing that might come up, surprise. I mentioned surprise. Secondly, acknowledge. So it's okay to be surprised, then acknowledge that there's a problem. You know why I'm saying all of this? Because I think sometimes when I talk as a specialist and I talk very passionately about children with dyslexia, sometimes people think that is a superwoman or superman kind of thing. But I'm sure I and Doshima demystified that the last time we had a session, the last time, the last lap of the conference. If you were there, I'm sure you enjoyed our conversations. If you weren't there, it is still on this group, and you can still find the video on YouTube to watch over again. We demystify the fact that it's all rosy. You have to prepare yourself for it. You have to prepare your mind for it. I understand the brain of a child with dyslexia. I understand what they go through. But at the same time, I get to that point where sometimes I'm wondering, this is too much. This is too much. I need a break. I've taught you this 100 times. This is too much. So you need to understand that it's okay to be surprised when you hear that a child you've been tutoring failed, and then failed in quote, and then acknowledge that there is a problem. Then empathy, empathize. That's not the time to start throwing negative words, even if you know that it is a child's fault. Maybe, for instance, you know that the child has a behavioral issue, or probably when you were studying and doing all of the revision and everything, the child wasn't listening. You know, kids just have their issues, or they refuse to read. Whatever it is that happened is in the past. Right now, you have to empathize. The child is crying. The child needs you to listen, needs you to understand that he or she is hurting because they failed. Okay? So, empathize. How does a child feel right now? So I had to, first of all, bring myself into his shoes. Okay, if I was in this class and I was asked to repeat, so I had to empathize. I was like, wow, going back to the same school, and my classmates are higher, and then I'm in a class with kids who were lower than me. And maybe some of them I was even acting like I'm the senior. So I began to picture all of this in my mind, and I was like, oh my God, I understand what you're going through. It's fine. This is going to be okay. We're going to find a way Don't cry. I understand it can be embarrassing. This can happen, that can happen. I had to empathize. It was not the time to start throwing blames and all of that. So it's okay to express yourself as being surprised and then acknowledge that there's a problem and then empathize. After you have empathized, it is time to now motivate. Okay, motivation. And that's where all of these questions came from. So I was like, it's okay. You failed, or rather you were asked to repeat. I preferred using the word asked to repeat because I didn't want to keep pushing the word failure in his face. So you were asked to repeat, not because you're not smart. Okay, I believe you are smart. I mean, I converse with you daily, we talk. So I believe you're a smart child. I believe your mom believes you're smart too. And the other teachers here at the center also believe you're smart. So um, don't think you were asked to repeat because you're a dummy. I don't think so. I think there are other reasons why, and we're going to look into this. And that was where he asked the question, if I'm smart, then why did I fail? If I'm smart, why was I asked to repeat? And for me, that was such a profound question. I'm like, for asking this question, that already proves that you're smart. So that's great. Now, let us find out why you were asked to repeat, although you're a smart child. But first of all, we need to start from here. Do you believe that you are smart? And of course, he noted that yes, he believes that he's smart. I said, okay, so let's figure out why. Um, what happened? And that's where you move to the solution. So we have first, when you're dealing with a child's failure, you have first the surprise. It can be a surprise from you, from your emotions, like we mentioned. Secondly, acknowledging that there's a problem. Thirdly, empathizing with the child. Fourthly, motivating the child. Motivation. And after your motivation, the next thing is solution. And that was where we went into the solution. From the motivation, we went into the solution. So if you're following me and you're getting this, I need to be sure you're getting me. Can you put this point that I've mentioned down? In handling a child's failure, in quote, emotions burst out. That's where you might act surprised. You then acknowledge that there is a problem. So surprise, acknowledge. You then empathize, and then you motivate. Motivation. And now we're looking at the solution. So we had to look at the problem, the solution to whatever was happening by first of all letting him know what the problem is. So the first night I said, okay, I was like, okay, let's figure out what the problem is. I'm going to give you something to solve. And this is something we have done before. We did it like 4 weeks ago. So do it. Let me see. So I gave him the thing to solve. And after 15 minutes, he couldn't. And he said, I can't do this. I said, but you've learned this, right? He was like, yes, I have learned it. I said, okay, so he was like, of course, I have seen that. Sorry, call came in. Should have switched that off. So, solution, that's where I was. So, when he was solving it, he couldn't do it. And after 15 minutes or thereabout, he said he couldn't do it. I'm like, why couldn't you do it? We've done this before, right? He wasn't even sure if we have done it before. And I know students, they didn't taught us. I think I've done that too before while in school. Another teacher will come and ask, was this taught? It wasn't taught. And it was taught, actually. So that's something that was taught, but he said I'd forgotten. Of course, I being the teacher who has taught, it was right there with him. I reminded him that this has been taught to you. So why did you forget? Since we left it, have you even gone through it again? And I was like, no, he hasn't read it. I'm like, how about your books in school? Do you study them when you come back home? No. So we had to state all of that, all of the issues that we thought were the problem: not studying his book, not completing his notes, not going through his work, watching TV. I know when we got to that part of you watch TV too much. We know he watches TV too much. Even the mom has complained. He was like, but his friends watch TV too. I say, yes, I think that is a difference. Your friends watch the TV, but they still do their homework, right? Do they bring their homework to school? Yes. I believe they still find time to read their books, right? So But like for you, you only watch the TV and you don't do any other thing. So watching the TV is not wrong, okay? But you need to know when to watch the TV. So we're going to work with you to help you do better in the next term. So your school is giving you an opportunity to do better. And now that we have recognized what the problem is, you and I understand what the problem is, we're going to work on it together. So take down all of these problems we have written, which were I don't read my books at all. I forget, he even forgets his books too sometimes in school. But there was a time he forgot his entire bag in school. Can imagine that. Oh my God. So we stated all of that and then we stated a solution. And what's the solution? And they can be very funny. I asked him, so what's the solution? He said, okay, the solution is I will not watch TV for 125 days. I'm like, what are you saying? Watching TV is not wrong. It's okay to watch the TV. But so you can see, I think sometimes when we are handling situations like that, you want to first of all take away the TV totally and make the child feel like and having some fun is wrong. You need to balance it. It is not wrong to relax and watch TV. But how about we make sure you do your homework before you watch your TV? How about we have a TV time? That this is the time you're to watch your TV. After the other periods, you need to do something else. And that's what we're working on him with to create a schedule for him. And he's so determined. While I was preparing to come up here online, it was even his call that just came in. While I was preparing to come up here online, he kept calling me because I'm to create a schedule for him, to talk to the mom about his schedule, how his day is like, so we can create a time for this time for you to eat, this time for TV, this time to read, this time to do homework. And he's the one bothering me. I had to tell him that, you know what, I'm going in for an online session now. When I'm out, I'm going to call your mom and we're going to talk. And what does that tell you? These kids want to learn. They want to achieve something. Who wants to fail? Nobody. Nobody wants to fail. You need to understand that nobody wants to fail. And in trying to create a solution, don't totally pull away their pleasures or the things they love to do away from them. He loves to watch TV. Watching TV is not the problem. Too much of it and not reading your books is the problem. Because if he stops watching the TV today and he's still not reading his books or he's still not studying, now, this problem we stated could not be the same problem with your own student. It could be different. It could be that probably your student is reading but is not comprehending, or your student is reading but doesn't know how to express their thoughts. So that could be different from your own child. But I hope that with this, you'll be able to put in something that can help your child. Let me go read some comments. Okay, thank you, Ms. Doshima and Facebook user. Surprise, acknowledge, and empathize. Actually, empathy. Yeah, thank you. No, it's good. I'm seeing that. So I can correct it. Empathize. Empathy, to empathize with somebody. Emotions, then your motivation. How come I feel I don't pronounce that word rightly? So motivate. Okay, we're going to look at that later. Okay, so I suggest all teachers should read about self-induction, set induction. Okay, so a Facebook user is suggesting that. So if you're a teacher here, you should look into it. So on say 3 weeks into the term, we observe the learning challenges and we get to work immediately so the child doesn't repeat the class. That is great. That's for private schools, right? Okay, awesome. So I'll go through that again. How do I help a child who is experiencing failure in quote? Or what are the stages? Let's say what are the steps in helping a child who is experiencing failures? First step could be the surprising stage. The second stage would be the you acknowledging that there is a problem stage. The third stage is you empathizing with the child stage. The fourth stage, right, is giving the motivation that the child needs. The fifth stage is the solution stage. So did you get this? Thank you, Facebook user, for I think aside from okay, there are actually two people here who just want a t-shirt from me. Of course, Dushima is a staff of Dyslexia Help Africa, so nah. But we have a Facebook user. You see, this is why I need you to always that StreamYard thing up there to always feel it. Because now I want to give you a t-shirt, but I don't know who you are. So who are you? At least the last time Miss Rita was able to tell me, and I know Miss Rita personally, so I know she was not lying about that. So I want to give two of you t-shirts now. Okay, so I'm actually running this at home, and that's my father's voice. So things that happen when you work from home, right? Okay. So two people are going to get my t-shirts. We have the Facebook user one and the Facebook user two. So I don't know who you are, but you have to find a way to let me know who you are. Okay, thank you. So that was it for 30 minutes of Dyslexia with Blessing Ingyape. If you have questions, you can put them down as a round of hello, Doshima. Hello. Yes. What's oh no? How many shirts do you want to have? The Facebook user is Miss Gwen. See, from I'm not I think I'm going to have a rule. I'm going to write that rule each time I'm having an event that if you're a Facebook user, you will not get it. Especially people that I know. I know Miss Gwen. And I've been shouting this since that give StreamYard the permission. All right, Miss Gwen, congratulations. I don't know who the other person is. Is she still the same person that sent that one? Oh, Facebook user, Mrs. Blessing Warfare. You two, you've not given StreamYard the permission. Now you've been following StreamYard for a very long time. All right, congratulations to Blessing Warfare and to Miss Gwen for your t-shirt. And thank you everyone for being here today. So we're exactly 30 minutes, so it's time for me to say my goodbyes. You can always drop your questions here. I will always come back to the comment sections to check. Thank you and bye. See you again next Saturday, okay?